Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking. I'm your host, Archie Mitchell, and tonight, just like last week, we're going to have a review of NXT and of the current documentaries that are floating around on Vice TV and on A&E. So it's time for you to crack open one of your favorite frosty beverages and listen to what I got to say. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we start, earlier this past week, we found out that we lost ECW original New Jack. It is a very tragic ending to an incredible career. I don't care what you thought about this man personally. He was an innovator in ECW. He brought violence like nobody else could, and I was a fan. His promos were some of the funniest, craziest, and scariest you've ever seen in your life. His wrestling ability may have not been great, but he took risk and he did things that not many other people were doing at this time, let alone doing at all. So, rest in peace, New Jack. Peace upon your family and your friends and the people who knew you. And as I said on a Facebook post the day that it happened, heaven just went extreme. So, with that being said, a salute and a goodbye to one of our ECW originals. Let's get into the show. As I said tonight, we'll be talking about NXT, and we start off with a little highlight package of Starks and Storm, and Bronson Reed and Johnny Gargano as the opener here. And again, WWE bring on incredible highlight packages. Only they can. I will give them props for that every single time. And then we go into our first match, which is Tony Storms versus Stark. And both women started the match teeing off on one another, with powerhouse moves. These two women can't stand each other, apparently. It's been brewing since NXT TakeOver, and it led to a great opener. 11 minutes of these two women going back and forth with shots to the head, body, lower body. And Tony Storm pulled off a great win to gain back her victory after losing to Stark at NXT TakeOver. But Zoe is slowly becoming a great part of the NXT women's division. So it's great to see her interact with some of the top women in this division. But Tony's celebration gets cut short because Frankie Monet, the former Taya Valkyrie, steals the spotlight and is there to show off just a little bit. With only one more week until her in-ring debut next week, she does a little twirl, and then we head to the back where Legado del Fantasma is sitting there and saying they want a tag team title shot against MSK. But this gets interrupted by Tommaso Ciampa and Luke Thatcher, or Timothy Thatcher, excuse me. Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa, my bad. They say that Legado del Fantasma has beaten everybody but them. So let's have a match. And apparently we're going to have that match a little later on tonight. This gets followed up by Cameron Grimes showing up in a limo and picking a fight with Jake Atlas that will also lead to another match later on this evening. I have to say I could have used a commercial here in between because there was just way too much going on after the Tony Storm Zoe Stark match. It was like 5 things happened in the span of 10 minutes, and they really just needed to slow down and get back on track, in my opinion. We come back, though, from a commercial, and we find the way ladies, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, are at a spa, and Dexter Loomis is watching over them, which is a bit creepy, but I guess when you're Dexter Loomis, you've got to be creepy. We then move to highlights of Karrion Kross and Finn Balor Part 1. And analysts of the WWE and NXT are saying how great the match was, which I couldn't agree more. It was an incredible encounter between these two, and they're saying that part two may be even better because if Finn Balor wins back his title, it will be that feel good story that everybody wants. But if Karrion Kross beats Finn Balor again, well, then he's cemented his legacy and can move forward as a great NXT champion. I agree with both theories, and I just can't wait until next week to see this happen. The promo that happened here is giving me chills as I watched it, and I cannot wait for this match to happen. We then go to Jake Atlas versus Cameron Grimes, a match that was made earlier. Before the match starts, Cameron Grimes shows highlights of what the real Ted DiBiase looks like, and I got to be honest here, I didn't understand it, but I guess it's to progress the feud with MDM and Cameron Grimes. This was a good back and forth 9-minute match. It was nothing special until MDM, the $1 Million Man, shows up and distracts Cameron Grimes and allows Jake Atlas to pull up a upset victory. Incredible, but it was a brilliant ending. And then Grimes follows MDM out to the parking lot, and the $1 Million Man has stolen Cameron Grimes' limo. Cameron screams to the sky, and the feud just keeps getting better and better. Ted DiBiase was always incredible on the mic and in the ring. You can't take that away from Ted DiBiase. But now, with him just getting to go toe to toe with Cameron Grimes over who's got more money and who can outdo one another, it's been amazing. It's been absolutely brilliant. Um, and then we go to Bronson Reed, and he's cutting a promo telling us how important this match is to him tonight for the North American title. And I gotta admit, I'm rooting for him. Bronson Reed has been incredible since he stepped foot in NXT. So it only makes sense that he finally leads himself to a title. But we gotta wait and see. Pete Dunne is then asked about calling out the entire roster last week and the NXT champion. Dunne says that no one is on his level and that nobody wants a shot at him to face him one on one, and that he's unstoppable. I guess that remains to be seen. We then go back up to the ring for Alexander Wolf taking on Killian Dane, two former tag team partners in Sanity. And this match was a little weird, only lasted 3 minutes. It wasn't a squash, though. They just really never got started. And then Wolf asked for a chair. The ref pulled it away. Dane clocks him with a body splash and gets the win. Imperium is meant to be unstoppable. You've got Walter and the Imperium boys, Marcel and the other guy, I don't know his exact name, but goes to show how much I listen when they're out there. I mean, but they're just deadly in the ring, and you have him get squashed by Dane um, in a non-traditional sense. But then the rest of Imperium beats down Wolf and kicks him out of the group. So yes, we're going forward as a 3-man group now, or this is going to be explained. Who knows? We might see a reunion between Wolf and Dane. You never know. Really never know. We come back now from another commercial break to find Raquel Diaz and Dakota Kai saying that they want their women's tag team titles back. That they've got their sights set on Candice and Indy. But then Everrise interrupts and Raquel knocks one of them out, which rightfully so. I don't understand the Everrise tag team. They keep mentioning that they have this early morning TV show or something. I've yet to find it or watch it. They're a very low card tag team that I guess has been on 205 Live. I know they've been on NXT a few times, but it doesn't sit well with me that they're just constantly popping up and trying to make themselves relevant when both you and I know they aren't very relevant. We then come to the tag team match that was made earlier this evening. Legado del Fantasma taking on Thatcher and Champion. This was a great tag team match. It's what tag team wrestling is meant to be. Both teams took turns getting their spots in, and it looked like Ciampa and Thatcher were going to pull out a great win. But then Legado del Fantasma pulls out an upset victory because I fully expected Team Champion to win, but they pull out an upset victory, and they get a great win in 17 minutes. I guess that's what makes NXT superior to the rest of the WWE brands. They're not afraid to put somebody over to move forward and get a new challenger as opposed to putting over the same talent. We then hear from Bobby Fish, and he says he's back with only one match in his mind, and that is a matchup with Pete Dunne. So apparently, Pete Dunne, you've got a challenger, and it's Bobby Fish. I want this match. I need this match. And I really hope that when Bobby Fish says, meet me next week, it leads to a match and not just a brawl in the ring. But whenever these two finally get in the ring, I'm there. I'm there with popcorn. I'm there with candy. I've got a soda. And I'm glued to my television for however long they want to let these two wrestle. A little follow up from Indy and Candace at the spa earlier. And Indy finds out that Dexter Loomis still loves her. Okay. Johnny Wrestling, Johnny Gargano then cuts a strong promo on Bronson Reed and saying that he will definitely retain his title. And Johnny has been a fighting champion, even though he may say that he does not want to defend his title nightly and argues the point. When he does have to defend it, he turns it on every time. So I expect a great main event. We then go to Aliyah versus Saraya, and Saraya gets the win in 4 minutes. This is a squash match. And it just seems to me that NXT is going the same route they went with Io Shirai and Asuka, the unbeatable Japanese superstar. And they're going to probably push her to the high heavens, give her the NXT title, allow her to stay undefeated for about a year, and then lose to whoever their next big thing is. Did you ever also notice that all the Japanese women's wrestlers have a nickname? We had the Genius of the Sky and Io Shirai, the Empress of Tomorrow, and now Saraya has some little anime type of nickname as well. I'm not enjoying it, folks. I don't like it, but that's fine. We then hear from Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. They want their tag team titles back. I hope that they get a rematch. I thought they were a great tag team, and they held the titles with dignity. It's not to say that Candice and Indy won't, but I think it'll be great to see them get a second run with the belts. Just has to wait and see where and when this match happens. And then Hit Row is also in action next. Yay? Yes. It's Hit Row versus Tony Nese and Arya Davari. Ashanti Adonis and Top Dollar will be representing Hit Row. And I'll be honest, they pick up the win in a 5-minute squash match. It's our third squash of the night, or third quick match of the night, I guess I should say, but it is a squash. But it wasn't bad. Top Dollar and Adonis actually proved that they could work together well. Top Dollar proving to be the muscle of the team, the enforcer, and Ashanti Adonis is a great cruiserweight. The promo after the match was not very well, not very good, not even very subpar. It was just another, blah promo. And I don't think that Isaiah Swerve Scott needs these guys with him. They could have debuted these three people together and kept them away from Swerve Scott and let him just go out there and prove himself in the ring nightly. But, and we're going to get to this in a little bit when I do my rant. But yeah, we've got another stable in another wrestling company. We then see a glimpse of the Diamond Mine, and I don't know who this is. I'm really wondering who it is, though, and I'd like to finally find out. There's been reports that it was Tessa Blanchard, and then that it's not Tessa Blanchard. Reports that it may be a UFC type of storyline. I just want to see, is it somebody new or someone we've seen before? And then we hear from William Regal about new faces and challengers stepping up to face champions. Next week, we will have Karrion Kross and Finn Balor Part 2. A rematch for the women's tag team titles as Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell will defend against Shotzi and Ember. And the debut of Frankie Monet. Not a bad show. I know I'll be watching. And then we get to our main event. And this was great. it was everything it was meant to be for a steel cage match. For the first couple of minutes, Johnny Gargano scrambled the cage to stay away from Bronson Reed. But then Reed finally gets him in his grasp and just lays in some big power moves. But he could not uh, get the advantage thanks to Austin. Uh, you know, and it's the way has been on a constant basis, but it leads to decent storytelling. Uh, Gargano takes the upper hand and is then connecting with some of the most incredible, innovative moves I've seen in quite some time. Um, but then Reed takes over again, tries to escape the door. There is Austin once again, slams the door on Reed's head. Gargano goes for the win, but no. Bronson Reed takes Gargano down, steps up to the top rope, and delivers a monstrous splash. And 3 seconds later, Bronson Reed is our new NXT North American champion after an 18-minute classic. NXT proving that they know how to do main events and they know how to give us classic wrestling when have to, need to, and want to. It's not just one of those, it's all of those. This was an incredible moment for Bronson Reed. He's been with the company on the main NXT roster for over a year now, and he finally proved himself by grabbing hold of some gold. And it's definitely needed and wanted. Except for a couple of squash matches and a lot being crammed into a small amount of time. This was a really good show, but the main event saved it for me. I was really leaning towards a 3 out of 5, but the main event makes this must see, and it's for me. It's a 4 out of 5 this week. 4 out of 5 stars. Go out of your way to watch NXT this week if you can, um, because I have to say this is one of those can't miss episodes because it's leading us to so much more in the near future. NXT has been delivering, and next week, in addition to watching NXT, which, as I said, will have Karrion Kross versus Finn Balor Part 2, I will be watching AEW again. I needed a couple of weeks away after that Blood and Guts ending. Um, so hopefully, being away for a couple of weeks will allow me to enjoy them once again. But we'll have to wait and see. But as for this week, we are now moving on to the documentaries that were on television this week. The first being on Vice TV, um, Dark Side of the Ring, second episode, King of Deathmatch, Nick Gage. And there are a lot of people who don't like Nick Gage, who think that he is a bad human being for things that he did outside of the ring and for things that he's even done inside the ring. But if you are a deathmatch wrestling fan, you watched Terry Funk and Cactus Jack in Japan, or Oneta, John Moxley, or any death matches that have happened in Japan, the United States, ECW, and this is a documentary that you need to watch. It's only an hour long, and it really characterizes what Nick Gage was, what he became, because he wasn't making the money that he needed in wrestling, although he loved it, he had to go out and start robbing a bank and doing some things that weren't too kosher. Nick fell in some hard times. He did about 6 years in jail total. And in that time, I think he became a better person, came out, and thanks to his buddy and the now promoter of ECW, um, he became the face of a company and is doing things that no one else can or will do. His match with David Arquette, although a little crazy, and David Arquette swears he asked Nick not to cut him, was good, and in my opinion, helped cement David Arquette as a real wrestler and not just an actor who won the WCW World Heavyweight title. I had a lot of ill will against David Arquette once upon a time, but not anymore after his match with Nick Gage and his comeback to the circuit after the last couple of years. So thank you, Nick Gage, for that. So go out of your way to watch Dark Side of the Ring on Vice TV. This week's episode coming up will be Collision in Korea, which was an incredible show, but had a lot of dark parts to it behind the scenes. And then we moved to A&E's documentary series, and this week was Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, my favorite wrestler of all times. Yes, I am an HBK mark. And I don't care what you say about this man, the politicking, the abuse of power, the asshole that he was. Shawn Michaels is and will always be my favorite. Um, his matches with Austin, Hart, even Hogan, that match they had at SummerSlam, The Undertaker, Ric Flair, his tag team matches with Marty Jannetty. I have always been a fan of Shawn Michaels. Heel or face, it didn't matter. And listening to his story about how he wanted to be a wrestler growing up, his father couldn't live up to that in possibly 35 years. His son saying, Dad, had you just given me a shot, I could have been a professional wrestler. Hearing Marty say that Shawn pushed him away to become a singles wrestler, which we all knew, but we didn't know behind the story what was going on there. Um, and just hearing and seeing what Shawn was like at the beginning of his career, then leading to him leaving, um, coming back 4 years later, better than ever. You hear people say it, um, but it truly is the truth. Shawn Michaels came back after a 4-year hiatus, better than he ever was. He went on to win multiple world heavyweight titles, tag team titles, Triple H, the DX reunions, the storylines with The Undertaker and Ric Flair, retiring Ric Flair at WrestleMania, he himself then having to retire at WrestleMania a couple of years later. It was just what it should have been, which is magic. Um, I will rate the Shawn Michaels documentary 5 stars. I know you guys may say as you're listening to this, well, you're an HBK fan. Of course, you're going to rate it 5 stars. Yes, I am. Fuck you. I don't care. I am an HBK fan, so of course, yes, I'm going to tell you to go out of your way to watch it. But these documentaries that have been on both with Vice TV and with A&E, they've been doing an incredible job of showing you the ins and outs of these people's lives before they were wrestlers, while they were wrestlers, and after. So yeah, find your what channel Vice or A&E are in your area and go onto their on-demand services if you haven't watched them already. Start from the beginning with Vice and Dark Side of the Ring. There's 3 seasons. Go for it. Um, I highly recommend these documentaries that have been pumped out lately. They deserve a watch. So, um, and next week for A&E is the Ultimate Warrior. I will watch it. I was never really a big Ultimate Warrior fan, but I'll watch it still, and I'm sure you will too. And if you don't, I'll try my best to let you know next week if you should or not. So we have now come to the part of the show that I think is Nate Maxon's favorite part, where I bitch and rant about what I didn't like going on this week in professional wrestling. It is time for Grinds My Gears. Wrestling has become very convoluted and very much so filled with bullshit over the last couple of years. And this last year and a half, even more so. And you can stop me if you want and say, but wait, COVID and cinematic matches, they were doing things that they had to do to survive. I understand that. But 2 weeks ago, Chris Jericho fell onto some um, boxes, and the cameraman decided to do a hard pan right into those boxes instead of being far away and just showing us the devastation. Last week, we had zombies at WrestleMania Backlash, and this was all done to promote Dave Bautista's new movie. Dave Bautista, the guy who regularly says that the WWE is shit on Twitter. Yeah, let's promote his movie. Sounds good. And what did you do by having this zombie lumberjack match, WWE? You got the Miz injured because of all the stupidity that was going on. He tore his ACL and may be out for God knows how long. Now, I like the Miz. I think he's a great athlete. I think that he's an integral part of the show. I don't think that he'll be that missed over the next couple of months, 5 months, 6 months, but you cost yourself one of your stars doing absolutely bullshit to put over a movie. The WWE and AEW have relied on getting mainstream and even crappy celebrities in their rings lately to promote and get the non-wrestling fans interested or to get non-wrestling fans talking. You had Jake Paul, you had Bad Bunny, Shaquille O'Neal, Mike Tyson. When does it end? When do we stop placating to the non-fans? Now, I'm not asking you to cater to me and the real fans by any stretch of the word or means. No, what I'm asking you is to actually allow the wrestlers to do their job, allow the announcers to do their job, and allow normal storytelling to happen again. I enjoyed Cesaro versus Roman Reigns because that was a story of a man who, for the last 10 years, has been in WWE trying to get a title shot, finally getting one. I enjoyed Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, and Bobby Lashley, and we'll get to that in a minute because that was a real story about a guy who got screwed out of his title, trying to get it back, and then there was another monster trying to take it from him as well. I enjoyed Bianca Belair and Bayley because that was two women who couldn't stand each other trying to outdo one another. I even enjoyed the women's triple threat match, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley and Asuka, because those were three women who couldn't stand each other and were all jockeying for position. But I cannot stand zombies. I cannot stand the thought that just because Dave Bautista's movie needed a shot in the arm, we should do a zombie lumberjack. Another thing that pissed me off about Backlash was Dominic Mysterio becoming the World Tag Team Champions with Rey. I get we're trying to keep Rey Mysterio happy, but Rey Mysterio is injury prone. Rey Mysterio hasn't done anything in wrestling since the late 90s that was worth anything, and that was back when he was in the cruiserweight division. Rey Mysterio would not be as big as he was if he didn't get the chance to step into Eddie Guerrero's spot because we lost Eddie Guerrero tragically. Rey Mysterio is now still putting up Eddie's legacy and doing what he can with it to get over by allowing Dominic to use the frog splash. And then you've got Michael Cole uttering the word, I know Eddie is watching down from heaven, watching up from heaven, looking down proud on Dominic and Rey. Give it a rest. Let the dead rest. And stop pushing non-wrestlers. Dominic Mysterio should not be near a title, in my opinion. We shouldn't have had to watch a love story between Buddy Murphy and Elia Mysterio that went nowhere. We shouldn't have had to watch that bullshit eye out match where Rey lost an eye and now miraculously has his eye back. It was all stupidity for the sake of stupidity because Vince McMahon got a laugh. It's time for Vince McMahon to go home and play with his grandchildren and let whoever's going to take over this company get over and maybe lead it into the right direction. And we also need to stop seeing so many multi-damn matches and so many damn stables. In the last couple of months, we have had countless triple threats, fatal four ways, six-man tags, and six-man battle royals, leading us to who was going to be the next contender for a title. What happened to if you pinned the world champion, you got a title shot? What happened to if you won 5 matches in a row, you got to then try to contend for the world title or the intercontinental title? Okay. What happened to a wrestler standing on his own? In the last 5 months, we've had the Inner Circle, the Pinnacle. We have the American Nightmare family, the Factory. We also, I believe, have a group with in AEW that I'm trying to think. The Jurassic Express is only 3. I won't throw them in there. They're actually a tag team. And then on Raw and SmackDown and NXT, we've had the Hurt Business. We've had we've got the new Hit Row, the way Roman Reigns and his bloodline are starting to get together again. You know what I mean? You had the whatever the hell Mustafa Ali was doing with Retribution. I understand everybody needs a place on the card. I understand that everybody needs a chance to get over, and I understand that everybody wants a spot in this business, but it's too much. Too much at once. We need to slow down. We need to go back to basics, and we need to put an end to this hyper booking for no reason, because I'm tired of it. And I'm a 30-year fan. I've been watching since WrestleMania 6. 30 years I've been watching this business. And if I'm tired of it, then the 30-year fan next to me is tired of it. And the 20, 40-year fans are tired of it. And the 50 of the 20-year fans are tired of it. And so on and so forth. That doesn't mean we're going to stop watching, and it doesn't mean we're going to start bitching or stop bitching anymore. But what it does mean is that when you start charging us more for Peacock or a pay-per-view, we're not going to pay it. We're going to find a stream to watch it on for free. And we're going to stop giving you our money for merchandise that isn't very well put. You end tag teams like the Usos that are about to break up so we can get Jimmy versus Jay. You ended the Undisputed era. You broke up DIY. You break up all these tag teams so that you could turn around and put them into another stable with another tag team partner and have it make less sense than it did before. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of having uh my brain questioned. I'm tired of having my knowledge questioned. I'm tired of being out to be made to look like a schmuck. The zombies need to stop. The multi-man matches need to stop, and the constant stables need to stop. Let wrestlers go out and wrestle because they have to, because they want to, not because, oh, well, it's a paycheck. Because then you end up with a bunch of guys like Kevin Nash was at the tail end of his career. Show up, fight, pay me. Show up, fight, pay me. It's the same thing over and over again. So now that my rant is done, I think I've spewed enough venom out for the evening. I want to thank you for joining me once again, listening to me as I spout off at the mouth. And I want to thank you guys for continuing to support WrestleNet Radio, the We Can't Wrestle podcast, and our Facebook group as well. I know Nate will thank you guys as well. And, word of mouth, keep getting it out there, keep adding new people, telling them about it so that we can grow. The more we grow, the better the content we'll get. I give you my word. So thank you once again for joining me on another edition of If You Smell. Look at the tongue, look at the tongue, look at the tongue. Wow. What the arch is cooking.